And then the other half would be cash because you pulled out equity from the other property. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a big math guy, so I'm really like writing down the numbers and trying to figure out that stuff. But it really has to make sense because that's a tough objection to overcome. But like I said, once again, I try to hit their pain points, right? Is $1,500 a month worth your piece?
Very few people need hand holding. You know what I mean? We really, truly, at least I never did. We really just truly need somebody to just point us in the right direction. Here at Real Brokerage, as y'all know, there's a ton of places that you can go to get better, get sharper, get faster, classes that you can be a part of. But a lot of times we need more of that tactical niche. Okay, what do I do in this scenario? How do I time block? How do I structure my day if I'm full-time and I'm going at this ham crazy, if I'm part-time, or if I do real estate sometime? And so Ian is going to walk through an amazing time management schedule. I implore you guys to get on his weekly mastermind calls that he has. I always send it out to you guys, but sign up for his weekly calls because he brings on someone that adds value to our business, regardless of brokerage. He is just someone that's been an advocate, and I could speak ad hominem about Ian, but he's my dog. So Ian, how you doing today, sir?
Thank you so much for that intro. I really appreciate it. Marvin always gives great intros. You know what I'm saying? There's a select few people that I will allow to speak at my funeral. Marvin's going to be one of them, I promise you. Marvin's going to be
200, brother. Stop it.
Thank you, man. I'm feeling good, feeling great. Ready to give as much value as possible. Hopefully that can give you guys something to take away that can make you more money today, because that's what I'm all about, is helping people make more money, live a higher quality life, and just be happy. That's what I'm all about. Well, and I just so happen to be in real estate.
Well, let's start from square one. All right, so we're in the business right now. You know, interest rates have finally dropped down, and buyers are now armed with a lot more firepower than they were when interest rates were going up. Many folks here on this call, they want to build a brand. They want to put themselves out there. They want to get their first buyer or seller client to decide to work with them. How did you specifically begin to realize that it was about you versus the brokers that you're at from a brand building standpoint? Tell that story on finding your niche, how you got to wearing cool Batman suits for stuff like that. But how can somebody start their brand from day one, just got their real estate license?
Yes. I will say this, and once again, thank you so much, Marvin, for having me. I will say this. People buy into you, not necessarily your brokerage, or not necessarily that your company with. I think of Marvin shared that I've closed over 100 deals, over 100 million. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying that, but I can't think of one client that said, hey, I chose you because of KW, or I chose you because of this luxury brand, or I chose you because of Real. Not one of my clients. My clients, all of your clients, buy into you. I also recommend that you build a personal brand, because of that, you can control your personal brand. I was at a previous brokerage. I don't know if Marvin wants to share with that, but I was at a previous brokerage. Right now, they're in a huge lawsuit with sexual assault. Like, some heavy hitters are in a huge lawsuit, sexual assault. If I would have been pushing, that brand, and I would have stumbled across someone that was like, hey, aren't you associated with that brand? You work with that brand? I probably could have lost a deal. Probably could have lost a couple of deals. So that's the huge importance of building your personal brand, because you can control your personal brand. And what I did wrong was I didn't do that from the absolute start. You have to do that from the absolute start. Many of you guys, hopefully many of you guys, have a great personal brand within your community. It's your name, right? People might say, hey, Michelle does great. Michelle's a great friend. She does kind by people. She does good stuff. Erica is an amazing person. Every time I'm around her, I always see her smile. You have a personal brand. Okay, build off that personal brand, then you can translate it to real estate. There's plenty of people out there that do massive amounts of business in real estate, and they don't know 10 things about real estate. I promise you that. There's plenty of people that I deal with, and like, man, I look up to so-and-so, they're doing a lot of business, they're always closing, yada, yada. I'm doing a deal with them. And they're like, oh, where's this part on the contract? I'm like, what? Like, you do tons of deals. Like, what are you talking about? So it's I mean, it's a gift and a curse, but more so like how to do more business, how to put yourself out there, how to even start. And number one, start your personal brand and build off of that. Number two, do right by people. Do right by people. Us as real estate professionals, we get a bad stigma of, only doing what's best for us. It's just like car salesman. A lot of people equate us to car salesmen because of the sales job, you kill what you eat, stuff like that. But the people that make the most money in this business look out for their clients 100%. The more, I mean, that's the saying. The more successful you are is the result of the more that you're helping other people. And that's no different in real estate. When I first got into the business, like I said, I've been in the business for 10 years on the real estate side. I was a lender 2 years before this. I don't know if you knew that, Marvin. I was a lender 2 years before this. And so I hopped over to the dark side. But the first 2 years of real estate were my absolute hardest times in real estate. I will say that. Just like with any business, the first 2 years are pretty tough. And so the mistake that I made the first 2 years was not reaching out and not loving on my sphere of influence. I'm saying, hey, you know what? I'm too young, or I'm too new in the business. No one's going to trust me. You know what I'm saying? Like I had that false, stigma in my brain that I put on myself, which was not true, but I did anyway. So my first 2 years of real estate, the first year I closed 4 deals, right? The result of that was, I think it was, the leads were 2 open houses, 1 door knock, and one of them was my mom. The second year closed 4 deals as well. I think that was a result of, that's when I started to tap into my sphere of influence.
How did you find? Did you volunteer and just say, hey, I want to do an open house for somebody, and then a deal came from that, like a walk-in? Like, how did you get those first 2 open houses under your belt?
So
open house.
For sure. So what I did was I called on the MLS. It wasn't necessarily with my brokerage. Anyone that had an open house, anyone that had a property that was 7 days or less on market, priced appropriately, right? I called them and said, hey, can I do your open house? So that as a result of that, 2 people that walked in, I cultivated the relationship. It wasn't the same open houses, of course, there's various open houses, but I got a deal. The first 4 months of my business was from open houses. And so I cultivated that relationship. I met them, I think 2 months in, but took about 60 days for the first one. Cultivated that relationship. They trusted me. Then we went in, found a different house. It wasn't that actual house, but yeah, my first 2 deals came. That's how I did my first 2 deals, via open house.
Gotcha.
And so,
and do you stay in contact with those individuals that you sold your first few ones? Do you stay in contact with them?
Man, that was 10 years ago. It was funny. Initially I didn't do a great job of staying in contact with him, but I ran into him about 2 years ago. I ran into him and I was like, hey, his name was Kevin. So I ran into him and I was like, hey, Kevin, it's me, Ian. He was like, Ian, oh yeah, you sold me my first house. I was like, yeah, I sold you your first house. I'm the one that's always texting and emailing you. So I've been staying in contact, but I didn't do a better job of actually in person, because people, apparently forget about what you look like.
Okay. And so now you mentioned 4 deals in your second year, and then when did things begin to start like compounding? Was it year? Because many of us, we may not necessarily have 4 years to do it, right? Obviously back then, social media wasn't as popping. A lot of things were not as readily and easily accessible for us. So I take it in your first 2 years, you really didn't look at yourself as a brand. You didn't have a brand. So when did things begin to kind of snowball?
Correct. So my third year. So first 4 years, 4 deals, first year, 4 deals, second year, third year, 10 deals, and haven't done less than 10 deals a year since then. Nice. And the reason why was 3 main reasons. Number one, I will say, was I genuinely tapped into my sphere of influence and reached out to them. I have a $100,000 6-figure script, and I'll share with you guys. Whenever I'll give it to you, Marvin. You can share with them. My third year, I created this script on my own from various different parts. And my third year, I made $100,000. I closed 8 deals with
Nice.
this script alone, reaching out to my spirit influence. So I'll share that with Marvin. So that's number one. Number two, accountability. Accountability. I joined an accountability group. So we met up every week, said, hey, I'm gonna do 10 appointments, I'm gonna go on 4 of them, and then I'm gonna get 1 qualified lead or whatever, right? Every week I had accountability group. And it wasn't just a, hey, oh, you made it, cool, you didn't, that sucks, try again next week. We put money on the line. So we was like, hey, if I don't do this, I owe you $50. You know what I'm saying? Or I do this, like Marvin said, I owe you 100 burpees, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're held accountable, you actually have something on the line. You know what I'm saying? And that's what pushed me to another level. The third thing that I did was coaching. I hired a coach. At the time, my 3rd year, I did Mike Ferry. Mike Ferry was my first coach, and it was $1,000 a month. It was not cheap. It was not cheap at all, especially back then. That was, let's say like 7 years ago. Yeah, it was not cheap, especially for me. I wasn't making that much money. So I did have Mike Ferry coaching, but like I said, that really took my game from $36,000 a year to over 6 figures. Was hiring that coach. So that $12,000 investment,
Yeah.
it was worth something.
And what would you say that the coach provided for you? For those of us that is not in the budget yet, what would you say? Because I'm an advocate of coaching. So what would you say are some of the main takeaways and things that you learned that you still use today from that experience from coaching?
Yeah. So I still have a coach, today. But the main things was how to look at stuff from a different perspective and to see opportunity in any and everything that you're doing, right? So like one of the main things that that I still do today that I learned from my coach was whenever you're showing a house, right? You're going out to a property, you're showing a house, especially in a condo, it's really dope. So whenever you're going out and showing a house, especially in a condo, you show the unit or you go before, right? And you talk to the neighbor. You say, hey, I don't know if you're aware, but there's this property on 123 Main Street. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. The asking price is $500,000. How do you feel about that? Oh, that's a great price, or that's too low. Yada yada. Okay. Well, I'm showing this unit to one of my clients, but unfortunately, they have 3 or 4 other offers already. Hopefully, my client gets it, but if it doesn't, I wanted to ask you: would you be willing to entertain a private offer for your home? I've closed, I can count 5 deals off of that script, off of doing a private offer script, at least 5 deals. I should be doing it way more, but I've closed at least 5 deals from that script alone.
How did you get them to like how did you, because I'm guessing you kind of had to call their bluff on that. I mean, I want to see like I'm a client and I'm in your sphere, and I just want to hear how this script, because I'm not a huge fan of scripts, but if it's getting you $100,000, brother, I will incorporate it into my business. So like I just want to do just a quick 30 second or a minute role play as far as how you went about that. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. All right. I'm the client and you calling me. Ring, ring, ring.
Hey, Marvin, is this the SOI script or the private offer script? Which one?
Private offer. I want to do the private offer.
Okay. Excellent.
Ring, ring.
Hey, Marvin, this is Ian Mike with the Real Group, with Real Broker. How you doing?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Man, I'm doing well. Hey, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're busy, but I just want to let you know about the property right next to you on 123 Main Street. Did you see that property for sale?
Yeah, that was my hood neighbors. Yeah. I know them. I know why they're selling. Yeah.
You know why they're selling. I'm just kind of curious. Do you know why they're selling? Like, what's the reason they're selling for?
I think they were cooking meth in their backyard, but no, I'm just kidding. I saw them arguing one night, so I think they might be getting a divorce. That's kind of what it was like, stuff being thrown, and it was just a big mess. But I saw that for sale sign the next week, so I figured that was what was going on.
Oh man, very well could be. Sorry to hear about that. But yeah, that property is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath being listed for $500,000. How do you feel about that price?
I was shocked, man. I didn't know that it was worth that much money, because my home is almost identical. I have a different layout, but it's almost identical to theirs. So I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. Not bad at all. That the actual comps in the area, the comparables that have sold previously, actually support that price. So it's not too far-fetched, right? I have a client that I'm going to show that unit on Tuesday. at 3 o'clock. And they've already expressed to me they have multiple offers. It's been high demand, right? So hopefully we get it. But if it doesn't, I wanted to ask you, would you be willing to entertain a private offer for your home?
Man, I got a 3% interest rate, man. I don't really know. I mean, we've thought about expanding, and our kiddos growing up. So we've talked about, I'm sorry, downsizing. But I do have a real good interest rate. But I didn't know that it was worth that much, because we sure didn't pay that much for this home when we bought. So yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, property values are going up at a crazy amount, but I'm glad that you're open to it. But if I can show you a way where you can downsize your property, get in a much more comfortable situation that made sense for you, even with that low interest rate,
Right.
would that make sense to you?
Yeah, I'd be open to it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, like I said, I'm going to be there around there Thursday at 2 o'clock. We're going to conduct a showing. Is it okay if we stop by at 3 o'clock after the showing, or would 1:30 be better?
Yeah, I'll be home. I work from home, so I'll be home.
Okay, 3:30. All right, wonderful. So we'll stop by at 3:30. We'll take a look, and if everything makes sense on both parties, me and you will have a conversation later about downsizing on that home. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Wonderful. Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. All right. And so what are you accomplishing when you do meet with that? Is it kind of like because we kind of did some role play here on the group call last week. You're like giving yourself an in. Let's say it's not necessarily my neighbor, but like let's say it is a house in my neighborhood or in a neighborhood that I see for sale. Are you saying that that's your way of circle prospecting to see if the person is open based on seeing someone else's home for sale, that you can get into their property to take a look at it and potentially list? Is that what you mean by the private offer?
Correct. So of course, listing would be the ultimate goal. I mean, I'm sorry, a sale would be the ultimate goal, right? So my coach, Mike Ferry, told me that whenever one property pops up on the market, the odds are that there's 3 more in the area that are going to pop up as well, right? Because there's other people in the community that are saying, hey, you know what, I do want to sell, but I want to see how this house does. You know what I'm saying? So that's my goal. That's my end, to try to find those properties before they hit the market. If I can give them a private offer, be like, hey, here's a no hassle private offer. You don't have to put a for sale sign on the front. You don't have to do this. You have to already have the buyer for you. I'll make it real smooth, real convenient. Let's do as a private offer, for the home. And if that works, great. If it doesn't work, if they want too much, or my buyer's like, hey, I don't like this layout, whatever, then of course I'll say, then let's list it, because we made an offer on this house. There's 3 or 4 that made an offer as well, but they didn't get their offer accepted. So you have a market, you have a pool of buyers for your home. It's a real thing.
Gotcha. And so when you're making the private offer, how if they say, well, okay, what can you get me for the home, or how can you bring me a buyer? Like, how are you facilitating that conversation if you may not have someone ready to buy yet? Are you like, walk me through how you're facilitating that?
Yeah. So once again, if you do have a physical buyer, great.
Yeah.
But I kind of lean on just other people in my community as well.
Gotcha.
So I'll ask them like, hey, I'll reach out to like a group. You guys might have a like this group. Those reach out to them and say, hey, does anyone have a buyer for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $500,000 property? Right? You may not personally have that buyer, but
Right.
you know someone who does. And so you say, hey, I'm gonna have potentially, off-market property. Would your buyer be interested in stopping by me and you? Yada. Right? So you can kind of leverage other people's buyers for that as well.
I love that. Something I do as well is we all know Facebook, there's a group for some of everything. And so there's several groups that are coded for off-market listings. They include investors, Bigger Pockets. If you're familiar with Bigger Pockets, y'all, they have a group, and you can literally take the unlisted off-market, as Ian just mentioned, that you fished out, and then that buyer, it may fit their buy box on the investor side, and they may be willing to make an offer on it. So I think between those 2 options, shopping it to other real estate agents that have buyers that are looking for certain homes, as well as investor clients, not wholesalers, but actual end buyers, direct end buyers, that's going to be a great strategy, and it's going to show your social proof to that seller that, oh man, my home is actually worth something. I need to go ahead and hire Ian quick. If he found me a buyer this easily, that means I can get to the closing table fairly quickly. So that's powerful. Shabbatica, you had a question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
So in the scenario where you have somebody who's like, oh, I got a 3% interest rate, like how are you managing those conversations on what do I do? Like that's usually what I'm running into is like I'm if I sell, then I put myself in a worse situation. How are you managing those situations on such a script?
And that's a real thing. That's a real thing. It absolutely has to make sense. So so you have to, just like with anything, ask more questions, right? So they have a 3% interest rate. Then you have to ask them, hey, okay, well, you want to buy another home. Well, what's the reason why you want to buy another home? Oh, well, it's 2 bedrooms and I have, 3 kids, right? So everyone's crammed inside of a house, right? And okay, well, how does that make you feel that you're crammed inside of the house? Well, I hate it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do this. I want to do that. You know what I'm saying? I want to buy a bigger house for me and my family so we can feel comfortable. My wife or my husband wants a big yard, big kitchen, yada, 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 right? So I'll continue to drill and I'll ask some questions about how they feel about that. Then I'll say, okay, the reason for the move is because you want a bigger kitchen, more bedrooms, more space. Okay, so let's do the math, right? Right now, your mortgage is, $3,000, right? You want to buy another property, a bigger property, right? Your mortgage is going to be $5,000, right? So there's a $2,000 difference. That's a big difference. So I wanted to ask you, is $2,000 worth your time, your energy, your peace, because you're cramped up with each other. You know what I'm saying? You're tied into this property. You're not happy. You want to move to a better school district as well. You want to move closer to work. You know what I'm saying? $2,000 a month. This school district right now is not the best, right? You don't even go to school in this school district. You private school out. Private school costs $1,500 a month. You're already spending $1,500 a month. If I can show you a different way where you don't have to pay anymore for private school, I mean, that's a wash. You're getting rid of private school, you're in a better school district. That's that $2,000 right there. Like, it really has to make sense. It's really tough to overcome that 3% mortgage, but it has to make sense. Then you said, okay, well, let's backtrack. Are you able to take out equity inside of your home? Do you have equity inside of your home? That way you don't have to have a huge loan of that 6%, 6.5%. Now you just half the size of the loan could be that 6%, and then the other half would be cash because you pulled out equity from the other property. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a big math guy, so I'm really like writing down the numbers and trying to figure out that stuff. But it really has to make sense, because that's a tough objection to overcome. But like I said, once again, I try to hit their pain points, right? Is $1,500 a month worth your peace? You know what I'm saying? Worth being nagged by your partner, because otherwise, you're going to end up like Marvin's client or Marvin's neighbor that just selling their house because they're getting divorced. Is divorce worth it? I wouldn't say that, but like in my head, you know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to like that. Those are the avenues that I go about to try to overcome that.
And I'll add as well, as Ian mentioned, it's a math game, because a person might be in a 2 and 3% home, but if the community or another part of town that's ideally closer to work, right, or closer to some other value point that's important to them, and they're in a home that clearly they're not extremely happy with, because at the end of the day, if you love the home you're in, it don't matter the interest rate anyway, you're not selling, because there's no pain, there's no friction, there's no issue that stems from it. So when I hear a person on my calls bring up the interest rate right now, where interest rates are now, they are the difference in payment between a similar sized home under a 3% interest rate that's a lower value but similar size but lower value, versus a newer home or a bigger home, or whatever additional amenity, a basement or whatever. When you crunch the math with them, and anyone on our One Real mortgage lender team can help you work those numbers, we might be talking about a difference of $200 in a payment. But it's $200 more, but they got to cash out that original value add, that asset is what I'm trying to say. Now they got a 200% or $200 higher payment, but they also got $300,000 in the bank from the sale of their property that's tax-free up to the legal limit for the state. So it's always those kind of things. I'll pay, especially as an investor. Investors will pay $200 more monthly on a payment if they know they can rent the home for $500 and $600, so they're making a profit. So that may be the objective of a particular seller. We never know, but I love when they tell me they're paying a low interest rate, because again, it's an opportunity to explain. Cash in the bank is always going to be the most ideal, especially if you have an emergency situation. And by selling your asset, you have that cash in the bank to sit on the sidelines until interest rates come down or whatever they ultimately end up doing. But it usually doesn't make a big difference monthly if we're talking 2 and 3 and then 5%. It's usually not that big of a difference.
Yeah, the math is everything, man. Marvin's spot on. I just did calculation right now on a $300,000 loan. The difference between a 3% and a 6% monthly is $500. I mean, that's a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not.
Right.
Like, I'll even break it down. I say it's only $500 a month that you're paying. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
$16, $17 a day.
Right.
Is this house worth $17 extra a day to you? Is it? If it's not, then it is not. But if we're talking about $17 a day. That's just one extra sushi trip you probably can't afford. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll break it down. Exactly.
Yeah, when they hear that math, it usually makes them feel a lot better. And then, depending on where they're buying, the seller might even offer a rate buy down concession that might get their interest rate even lower. So it's that's just one of those ways that you, as the person reaching out to them, you are the professional. Everybody here is licensed, so people tend to think that we only open and close doors. But man, when I tell y'all, as I just mentioned, my heart rate was up because I was arguing with a lender earlier today, one of my clients, and I was arguing with another person. But we have to be advocates, y'all, and that's the way that we are going to build that trust and that reputation in our community. And as y'all know, especially if you've had some closings, if it's a really great experience for that buyer seller, they're going to tell all their friends, their coworkers, their fraternity and sorority people. They're going to tell everybody about you, especially in the social media world that we live in. So circling back to the building of the brand here, Ian, where are some of the main places that you would say a person should get started social media wise? Do you play more on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook? Like, where are some of the places that we might want to focus our attention going into 2025?
Yeah, 100%. So of course, we want to focus our attention on something that we can do, right? Something a little bit easier. So I would say Facebook and Instagram are the easiest platforms where you can, drum up business and be successful. I will say the long-term game, and there's the most money in YouTube. I will say that. But of course, YouTube takes a little bit more effort. It does. But like I said, Facebook and Instagram now, but YouTube, if you want, the long money, and then YouTube, there's multiple ways you can get paid on YouTube. Multiple ways. It's not just, buying, selling, just regular stuff. But yeah, that's what I would say.
So would you say, as far as what you focus on for clients on social media versus YouTube, I've talked about, at least with YouTube, if a person's insecure or they're not super comfortable on camera, I will push home tours. And I'm hearing now, at least from some of the gurus, that are saying, home tour videos are not popping like that anymore. I personally disagree, because I still get leads from it. But what would you say has been your most successful way of generating leads that come to you from social media? Is it from the skits? Is it from educational videos? Is it from home tours? Like, what's been working for you on these two platforms, social media and then YouTube? Because I consider them separate, even though some people lump them all into social media. But go ahead.
Yeah. So in all honesty, I think I posted like 2 or 3 YouTube videos, so I can't even say I'm legit on YouTube. I need to do better. That's one of my goals for next year, is to be more consistent on YouTube. But as far as like the type of videos that gain the most traction, I will say they are, because my clientele who I like to target. And once again, you guys got to figure out who your target audience is, who your target market is. For example, if you are, hey, I want to do luxury, I want to do higher priced, homes, things of that sort, then you shouldn't be talking about down payment assistance. Not saying that you can't talk about down payment assistance, but it doesn't correlate with your brand. You feel me? Because then you're gonna talk to people. You're gonna say, hey, hey, I want to show you this $2 million property. And they're like, aren't you the down payment assistance guy? Like, you don't know nothing about this $2 million property. You know what I'm saying? So that's just one thing. So what I say that what works for me that moves the needle is I'm a big investment guy. One of my ideal client is someone who wants to buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex, either for the first time as a first time buyer or as an investment. So when I'm running the numbers, I have a couple of videos on my social media where I'm running the numbers. They like that stuff and they reach out to me. Oh, those numbers do make sense. I'm interested in buying that type of property, right? That's number one. The second one is the home tours. Home tours, it is a little bit more saturated than 2 or 3 years ago because a lot more people are doing it, but it still moves the needle. But you have to layer it, right? So what I just ran into someone that does home tours still consistently, and they said what's been working for them a little bit more is at the beginning of your home tour video, say here's what a down payment of $15,000 could get you. Then they show the house, right? You can do variations of that. Oh, here's what a mortgage, a $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 mortgage will get you. Then show the home tour. Don't just show the home tours. Oh, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot property. I mean, that works too. But if you conceptualize it with people, then they're like, oh shoot, I can afford that. I have $15,000 in the bank. I could afford a $3,500 mortgage. Let me reach out to Marvin to see, if I can go view that home. So it's more about layering on the home tour, not just strictly just showing the property.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the home tours do have a lot of looky-loos and just people that just like looking at nice houses. So what I've personally found is that it should be a good mixture. So if you want to start somewhere, I would say start on social media, because you can do social media from your phone. You can do YouTube from your phone as well. But like you said, Ian, it's more of a long tail. You've got to figure out a way to hook people in, keep them on your video for a significant period of time. But with social media, I personally think that you being at a property on each video, just pick a different home in your MLS that has a for sale sign. Make sure nobody's home so you don't get shot, but stand in front of that home and just simply say, okay, hey, today we're at a property. You don't even have to tour that home if you don't want to, but we're at a property that is currently listed for $500,000. Based on today's interest rates being 5.74%, because y'all know interest rates change almost daily, but definitely weekly. So maybe every single week, just to mix it up, because we do have short attention spans as individuals on social media. So if I saw Ian or Emick or Gwendolyn standing in front of a home and saying this particular property today for $549,000 with a 4% interest rate will cost you XYZ per month in a mortgage payment. But the most viral videos that I had a video on TikTok that got 800,000 views, was me sitting in front of my bookshelf talking about the Costco down payment assistance program. That down payment assistance program, I skimmed through it and I was like, okay, let me just start giving educational stuff. That thing took off. If you go on my TikTok right now, tiktok.com/soldbymarvin, I'm just sitting in my office reading information I just saw on Instagram, on YouTube, Google, I'm sorry, that talked about the Costco down payment assistance program. So you never know what's going to hit. So I don't personally like to do the super scripted, all that jazz. Like, people like to see realness. So something you could do every single week, y'all, is just stand in front of a house and just say, this is Shavadika Javan with Brill Brokerage. I'm in front of this house. If it's a new construction, especially if they have incentives, which, quick tip, new construction homes should be a very big focus for your social media right now, because as we're getting closer to the end of the year, they be throwing all kind of incentives out right now because they want to get those homes off of their books for the next tax year. So if I were to say focus on one thing between now and the end of the year, new constructions, because you're not going to have a shortage of those types of homes to tour. But if your particular state says you can't tour it without whatever paperwork, you can just stand in front of that home, give information about that property, and direct individuals to reach out to you to set up a private tour of that property and talk about those incentives that the builder will feed you on a sheet of paper that you can just read off of it and educate clients. That's how clients are going to find you. That's how you're going to begin to build a brand and stand out as a brand new person. Ian, would you agree with that?
100%, 100%. I mean, new construction, there's not a lot of new construction, there's not a lot of land out here. So you guys are blessed out there in ATL. what I'm saying, Georgia. There's a lot of land, lots of opportunity. But yeah, the moment I post, oh yeah, this home is offering a 2.9 interest rate. They say, what? 2.9? 3%, 3.5%? They jump all over that stuff. So yeah, interest rate on top of closing costs and stuff like that for sure. But yeah, your focus 100% should be on new construction at the end of for the rest of this year.
Yeah. Now, how much money should a person spend on their brand on a regular basis? Do you have a budget dedicated to your brand? I mean, that outfit for Batman, that was strategic because it was Halloween anyway, of course. Please go see that man skit. It was hilarious. But, let's say a person feels like their personality, they're not comfortable doing that. Like what are some things that individuals should invest a little bit or a lot, depending on their budget, towards building their brand? What do I need to go get a website? Do I need to go get a fancy headshot? Do I need to go get a bunch of business cards? Like, what are some of the things, if I have a limited budget, that I may want to make sure I lock down from a branding standpoint?
Yeah, 100%. No, I like that. So starting off, I would say the most important thing is a professional headshot. Right, professional headshot. That's what that's what I would suggest.
Okay.
So the other thing is the CRM. I would say this CRM for sure. That's huge because that's going to keep you organized. That's going to keep you dialed in. 100% the CRM. The other thing, what I'd say is, like, if you have a listing, hire a videographer. You get lifestyle photos too, like something with high quality, that type of stuff. 100%. I'm trying to think, but me personally, I spend about somewhere around 5 to 10% on my personal brand per deal, right? 5 to 10% goes right back into the business on my personal brand. Whether that be, I'm not really a big ads guy. I'm more of hey, let me take out my sphere of influence to dinner, or hey, let's photo a football, a baseball game, stuff like that. I'm more of a client experience type of guy versus like an ads guy because I love on my sphere of influence. So that's why a lot of my money goes to is like client parties, client appreciations, going out to dinner, having lunch with clients, and then nice videos for my closed properties.
Okay. So video, so a little bit of video, and so I would say, if you don't necessarily have the budget for a videographer, don't give yourself any excuses and just do what you can do within your budget. But doing something, I just feel like, is better than nothing. And I know Ian would agree with that. So you would say keep it very bare bones for now. Don't necessarily focus on ads for the present time until you've actually built somewhat of a brand, and get consistent with it. I mean, if you do something 1 to 2 times, or do something for 1 to 2 weeks and you expect an outcome, y'all, it's just not going to happen. Establishing a presence, especially in this very crowded space of social media and YouTube, it's a long game, and so if you're doing something every single day and you don't see anything happen in 3 months, that's 30 days, that's okay. If you don't see it in 60 days, that's okay. But I guarantee you, if you dedicate 3 to 4 days a week to social media, YouTube, for at least 6 to 12 months, and you still don't get anything as a result of it, personally, I think there may be something in the messaging that you're failing to deliver on, and that's something that can be coached on based on the trainings that we have here at Real. Of course, I'm a producing agent, so I can't sit on an hour call and you go through all of that with you individually, but our brokerage here allows and offers so many classes every single week that the trends and tactics talks about what's working on social media right now. That's something you want to make sure that you're dialed into. Even if you can't make the calls live, watch the replay. The YouTube mastermind, that's a mastermind done by Malcolm Lawson, who's part of our family tree, that every single week he talks about some strategies and whatnot. And this is the #1 gentleman on YouTube at Real. He ranks higher than Real Brokerage does, and he creates Real Brokerage content. So these individuals are who I watch on a regular basis, whether I'm in the car, at the gym, or whatever. And that's what helps me kind of shape my social media presence. But there's a lot of individuals that we can rip off and duplicate. And I advise y'all to do it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. when the wheels already been built. Hey, if you've made it this far in the video and you are a real estate professional, consider partnering with me here at Real Brokerage. You pay nothing per month, get a fantastic split, and you have the opportunity to build a business through revenue share and stock purchases. Book a call at the link below in today's video, and I'm happy to have a conversation on why I was able to grow my business exponentially by moving my practice to Real Brokerage. All right, back to the video.